What is up, YouTube? Rob from RP Model Railroads here, and in this video we're going to be taking an up-close look at my custom IHC 260 Mogul steam locomotive decorated for my fictitious Ephrata Valley Railroad. More specifically, we'll be delving into the backstory on number 19. I'll be talking about how I gave it its unique paint scheme, and then we'll wrap up the video with some running shots of Ephrata Valley Railroad number 19 hauling freight around my 4x8 layout. So stay tuned. Mogul number 19 was my first custom HO scale steam locomotive, and also the first Ephrata Valley Railroad steam locomotive. It all started when I came across this IHC steamer in operating condition, but with a custom job that left a lot to be desired. The decals on the tender and locomotive cab had started to peel off and were quite brittle due to age, and the locomotive really had not been painted or changed in that much of a way. So I decided that it was the perfect candidate to redo into a custom railroad scheme. I didn't really do much to alter the paint scheme of the locomotive. I didn't repaint it at all or take it apart. Instead, I just decided to use my Deco Art yellow and silver paint pens and add some yellow and silver details to the locomotive and the tender. I then used some golden Gothic lettering to decal the tender and the locomotive. As time went on, and I customized more HO scale steam locomotives for the Ephrata Valley Railroad, I settled on a scheme that was both simple yet realistic for a fictitious model railroad, that being greatly inspired by the Reading Railroad T1 scheme, a black steam locomotive with safety yellow details and a silver smokebox front. This made my Ephrata Valley Railroad Mogul number 19 look a bit more toyish than the rest of my models, and I decided that it needed an upgrade. So I disassembled the tender and the locomotive, stripped both shells in .3 brake fluid to remove all paint and decals, etc., spray painted the shells with Krylon satin black spray paint, and then re-customized the locomotive into a simpler yet graceful scheme for the Ephrata Valley Railroad. And instead of using decals this time around, I transitioned to using chart pack self-adhesive vinyl lettering, aka stickers, that actually turned out looking pretty good on the locomotive and on the rest of my Ephrata Valley Railroad locomotives and rolling stock. Ephrata Valley Railroad Mogul number 19's repaint was done mid last year, and I'm quite satisfied with the results, especially considering that it's now in a lot simpler, realistic scheme that matches the rest of the steam locomotive roster. Now, this is just a plain Jane IHC Mogul that has been repainted. I didn't really heavily customize this steam locomotive by any means, aside from spray painting it and adding details with paint pens. The only custom feature to this locomotive, beside the horn hook coupler here that I put on the front of the locomotive, is this bell, which I believe might be a brass component that was not added by me, it was added by the previous owner, but has since been repainted silver to match the whole scheme of the locomotive. Otherwise, this is an IHC 260 that is now proudly serving on the Ephrata Valley Railroad for the rest of its operational career. Well, I certainly hope that you enjoyed this video detailing my custom IHC 260 Mogul steam locomotive decorated for the Ephrata Valley Railroad. And now for the conclusion of the video, enjoy number 19 hauling freight around my Ephrata Valley Railroad layout.